those of you who know me know I don't really like this Gospel of John. I don't really fool with John like that. But for some odd reason, God keep having me come out of John. Like John get on my last nerve. I'm a Luke girl. Give me the facts, the details and what have you. All this mushy love stuff, I don't have time for that. I always thought John was a little too soft for me. However, I was minding my own one good business, getting ready for regionals. And I ran across John 6. Now mind you, I don't really run across John too often. But I ran across John 6. And there were some things in here that arrested me. And then in the shower, like he always does when he speaks to me, Jesus said, am I the prototype?
My God.
I said, oh, what are we talking about, Father?
What?
What you mean? What you mean? Are you the prototype? Why, is that like this a rhetorical question? What's that? What's that? He says, no, I want you to ask them, is Jesus the prototype? It's a rhetorical question, but it's not. It is, but it's not. And if he is the prototype, then why are we doing things our own way?
Wow. That's the point.
So this message is really for our fivefold gifts, church leaders, dignitaries, saints, and ain'ts. Amen?
Amen.
So when I speak, I am not a preacher, so you don't have to worry about following me on the keys, because I don't know how to do that. I don't know what key I want you to put me in, and I don't hoop nor holler, okay? So just, if you can stay awake, though. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So I don't do all that, so we good, all right? So I was reading through John, and up until this point, Jesus has performed several miracles, yes?
Yes.
And I said, okay, God, okay, well, let me go back to the beginning, right? So one of the reasons why I love history, it just does something for me. Out of all the verses in all the four Gospels, there's only 18 things they have in common, all four of them. Now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke have a lot in common because Matthew and Luke used some of Mark's information and kept it going.
Right.
Additionally, Matthew, Mark, and Luke were not written by Matthew, Mark, nor Luke. They were written by one of their scribes, disciples, one of their disciplines.
Right.
John is the only gospel that is written from the first person perspective, which is why it's so different. Mark is written from Peter's, because Mark was Peter's protege. So, you see a lot of more Peter stuff. Mark. John, the one that Jesus loved. Because I was that one child that think, they parents love them more than anybody else, right? That's kind of why I'm like, because John has been on my, I'm going somewhere, I promise you I am. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. So, up until this point, we see Jesus had done a couple of miracles, raised people from the dead, this thing. Mind you, there's 71 verses in John, so I'm not trying to go through all 71. I'm going to hit the crux of what I'm saying is from 60 to 71. But I give you 1 to 59 first. So Jesus has come across this body of water. Some call it a sea, not understanding that it was just a body of water. It could have been a lake, but the Jews call all bodies of water seas. Did y'all know that?
Right.
So everything was a sea. Right. It could have been a lake. It could have been a river. It's a sea. Right. Okay. So he crosses the sea, and the first thing that he does is he takes his disciples up the mountain. All right? Note, he said disciples and not the 12. John is very clear when he's talking about the 12 or he's talking about the disciples. Okay?
That's good.
So Jesus had the crowd.
Right. Come on.
Then he had his outer court.
Right.
Then he had his inner circle.
Come on.
Okay? So we have the crowd, the outer court, his inner circle. So Jesus takes his outer court and his inner circle up the mountain.
Glory to God, watch your tongue.
as a leader. And he does the first thing he does after he's done all his miracles, he begins to pour into this outer court and his inner circle. He began to train his people. He began to lay foundation for them. He began to disciple them. Now, if Jesus is the prototype, why are we not doing this within the body? The first thing that he does, goes up the mountain, begins to pour. So he knew who he could pour into and what measure of pour he was going to pour. Right? So there's sometimes when your inner circle and your outer court are going to come together and to intermingle. But there are other times when the outer court they're not going to go with you where you need for them to go. You still want to just deal with your inner circle. Some of us have not identified or separated the crowd from the outer circle to our inner circle. And we wonder why we're just tossed to and fro, frustrated and mad at everyone when you're pouring and you're gathering and you're confused as who you're talking to.
Come on.
Wow.
Good teaching.
Then, this is what Jesus does. He realizes the crowd was there. He wasn't moved by the crowd. He just realized the crowd was there. So what is the next thing that Jesus does? He asks his disciples, what should we do about them? So he just trained them, been pouring into them. Then he began to test them, because it says he tested. It was a test. Right. He began to test them to see if the poor was well received.
Oh, goodness.
So when we are as leaders, first we have to pour, but you have to have something worthy of testing.
Come on.
Wow.
What? Come on. Come on. What?
Say it again?
Yes. Come on.
You have to pour, but you have to pour something worthy of testing.
That's good. That's good.
So one of the disciples said, hey, so it's going to cost us a whole grip of money to feed them. So one of them only saw the lack and it saw the poverty. Just now, mind you, he just walked with Jesus, knew this man's a miracle worker, right? Knew all of this about him, but all he could see was what we did not have.
Glory to God.
Then there was another disciplined one that says, you know what, Jesus? There's a little boy over here, 2 fish, 5 loaves.
Yeah.
Come on now.
So one can only see the lack. The other saw the possibility and potential.
Baby mama, godly.
But they were all together getting the same measure of pour.
That's right.
Now some of y'all have children,
That's right.
you can parent your kids the same way. Some will receive, some will not. You know how sometimes you'll tell your kids something, they don't listen to you, but somebody else tell. It happens.
Yeah.
Jesus is the prototype, right? It's right. It's
Yeah.
in the text.
It's in the book. It's in the book.
Okay? So then Jesus didn't do it himself. He gave them instructions and told them what they needed to do.
Come on now.
Wow.
He didn't explain. Now, mind you, he just told them to go. Go get the 2 fish, 5 loaves, and begin to feed them. Now, there was no back talk. There was no questioning. There was no, you didn't train me well enough.
Oh, God.
Wow.
This is good.
It wasn't any of that. The one that they chose to follow. And the ones that Jesus hand selected knew, okay, so the miracle was performed. I'm not going to get into the patriarchal message on. They were talking about 5,000 men. There was women and children there too, but they were worth, the encounter, but nevertheless, whatever.
Right.
We're going to skip past that. So the people, the crowd, responded and said, I want to make you a king. Will you be our king? To Jesus. What did Jesus do? He turned them back to the Father.
Oh, wow.
Your crowd will want to elevate you. Your crowd will be enamored by your miracles. Your crowd will have you feeling yourself. Your crowd will like, you know what? You the man, you the woman, this, that. They will worship and make your gift an idol. They will idolize you.
Yes.
And if you're not grounded and rooted yourself, you will begin to believe the hype and allow them to put you to a place where you're a little g God in their eyes, replacing God.
Whoops. Right.
Jesus says, no. You need to still see about my Father.
Wow.
I promise I'm not going to be before y'all long.
This is good. Take your time.
So you had your out of the crowd, the ones,
Right.
because the Bible does say that you and bring you before great people.
Yeah. Right.
So Jesus' gift made room for him, and got this multitude of people following him around.
Right.
He performed the miracle. They wanted to make him king. He says, no, you're not going to do that.
Come on.
He then instructs his disciplines to go pick up the remnant.
Wow. Wow. Oh, goodness.
So he put them back to work. What you're not going to do is believe the hype they gave me. So guess what? I need to go over here, pick up the remnant.
Wow.
Put them back to work.
He put them back to work.
That was good.
He redirected their focus. So no, I'm not listening to the hype, and therefore you're not going to listen to the hype about me either. We're going to go back to work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back to
God.
Then Jesus sends them back across. He just came over there. He sends them back by themselves. So then we see there's a storm, and mind you, his disciplined ones, his disciples are on this boat. Jesus just fed 5,000. Jesus just did some miracles before. They're on this boat. Jesus is not there. The moment he's not there, and some adversity gets there, what do?
Come on.
They freak out.
Why are you teaching like this?
Well, you know how I do that.
Oh, God.
I know. See my mentor right here? Yeah, so she said I could do that. Okay.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
She said I was good. If I get out of pocket, she'll let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Take the time.
All right. All right. She'll take the mic from me. Okay.
I love it.
So Jesus was only concerned about the things that concerned him.
Whoa.
Not concerned them, concerned him. So if I understood the assignment was a person, that's Jesus. He was not concerned about what the crowd. He met their need. Let me go back up one.
Come on.
So when Jesus saw that there was a need, his first response was to feed the crowd. We have gotten off target of what our assignment is.
Watch it.
Our first assignment is to feed the need.
Yes.
That's good.
Jesus met that need. He knew that this was my assignment. My purpose is to be. He said, no one can come to the Father except through me. So they had to see him and draw.
Absolutely.
Secondly, the gifts. We have to stop being upset when people are enamored by our gifts, because the gifts were given for the non-believer.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we get mad when people are like, well, they just keep chasing after prophecy. Well, it's not for us.
Yes.
It was given to us for the believer, but more importantly, the non-believer. The problem is we keep recycling the same prophetic word in the same circle and space.
Come on.
We ain't prophesied in Kroger. We haven't prophesied to Harris Teeter. We haven't been in Publix. We haven't prophesied to our waiter. We have not, our landlord. We've not done anything. We've not laid hand. We've not done any of those things. So the non-believer is not being drawn by our gift, because that's what the crowd was excited about, was Jesus' gift. He was able to perform the miracles. That's what is that not what in First Corinthians it says? It's here for the non-believer. It's not for us.
Right. Come on.
So Jesus was not in the same circle. He kept going from place to place, new territory to new territory.
Oh, God.
Right? Those who received, they received. They didn't receive. He didn't berate them. He didn't argue with them. He didn't beat them up. He didn't do any of those things. All he did was meet a need that was there for them. He fed them. He fed them physically, and then he fed them spiritually.
Wow. Teacher. You are a teacher.
So most of us don't know how to feed physically, and even though we know how to feed spiritually, we're so arrogant, we're so hopped on our own gift, we have begun to believe the hype of the crowd that we have not been able to do what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to not only, when Jesus told Peter to feed his sheep, it wasn't just a physical feeding. He wanted Peter to feed his sheep, the bread that will never go stale, not the manna of old, but the spiritual manna. He wanted him to feed his sheep. He was concerned about his sheep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But y'all just said Jesus was a prototype. So what's the problem?
Come on.
Is he? Is he not?
Come on. Come on. You talking. It's a prototype.
I mean, I don't know.
Wow. Thank you, Lord.
So then he goes back across to the other side. Then the crowd asked Jesus, I want to be able to do the miracles that you do. Not his disciples, the crowd asked him, I want to be able to do the miracles and things that you do. Can you teach us? Can you impart it to us?
Nakia, come on.
Jesus turned them back to God. It's like, you're worried about the wrong thing. I'm trying to feed you this spiritual food. And the moment that he pushed back on them, they said, well, isn't this Joseph and Mary's son? These are the, now, it's literally the same crowd. The text said these are the same people that he fed just yesterday. So, but y'all are so hyped up on this crowd that will turn on you in a moment's notice. The same crowd that elevated you, the same crowd that boosted you up, the same crowd that said this, that, and the third about you is the same crowd that be willing to tell you, but you ain't nobody special.
Wow.
Come on now.
You go from miraculous to regular in 0.2 seconds.
You better come on now.
But we want to believe the hype of the crowd. You know, so your mentor, the one that you sought after, whether it's your mentor, your spiritual mother, your spiritual father, your apostle, your bishop, whomever you chose to submit yourself to, the moment they don't begin to believe your hype about your gift, now we have a problem. Now they're hindering me.
Jesus.
Talk shy.
Perhaps they see something in you that needs polishing.
Yeah.
Not holding you back, but perhaps you need to mature a little. Perhaps you've not been completely discipled. Perhaps there's that childhood trauma that you're still working through, but you're using your gift as a band-aid to cover
Come on
it up.
now. Come on now.
You apostle.
Perhaps that's the case.
Mm.
Now, I'm not talking about abusive. We know that happens, that has happened. I'm not talking about that.
Come on.
We're not talking about the manipulative ones. We're talking about the ones that you saw, that was your refuge when you were bleeding. The ones that helped put you back together. Now, all of a sudden, aren't you Mary and Joseph's child?
Come on.
Watch it.
Working here, apostle.
But on the flip side, leaders, if it happened to Jesus, why are you in your feelings when it happens to you?
Yes. This is good.
Is Jesus not the prototype?
Yes, God.
So you should have an expectation of this to happen, because the blueprint is there.
Right. Right.
It's there, right?
Come on.
So then Jesus does something I just love. Not only does he point them back to God, he begins to give them requirements now. He begins to apply pressure on what they've been taught. Apply pressure on that gift.
Oh, God.
Apply pressure on that anointing. Jesus began to apply pressure. I'm down in 60 now. We done went all the way through there.
Come on.
And once the pressure began to be applied, the outer court, the outer circle began to leave.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the crowd. The crowd has already turned him over to, you ain't nobody, I'm leaving. The ones that I took you up the mountain and spent my time pouring into you, you decided to leave because I applied a little pressure to your gift.
Oh, wow. Come on. Lord, please. God.
The ones I told you about, the ones that was up there, I'm giving you the mysteries, I applied a little pressure and you folded. Okay, no problem. But that's not the good part. That's not the good part. Y'all still follow me?
Come on.
Because I'm not reading the text, it's in there. All right? So then, when they began, they said, what you're asking me is a hard thing. What you mean I need to go in to pray with you at 6 o'clock in the morning? That's a hard thing. What you mean that initiative that I was invited to go to, I told you can't go to. They're going to pay me $5,000. That's a hard thing. What about, you that's a hard thing, I got to go. Peace out. Then, Jesus turned around to the 12. You want to lead too? He did. You want to lead too? Peter, my homie. Nah, Dad.
Come on.
I'm going to be here with you. What Jesus said. I picked all 12 of y'all. One of y'all was the devil.
Yup.
So this is the question I want to ask the leaders. Why are you afraid to pick your Judas?
Lord.
Did not Jesus pick his Judas?
Lord Jesus.
See, I love Judas.
Same.
Had it not been for Judas, prophecy could not have been fulfilled.
I love it.
Same.
Come on.
So we want the easy road. We don't want to deal with the pickups and letting anybody get too close to us. And I can't handle, because if we're honest, your leader suffer, deal with rejection too.
Come on now.
I don't want to be rejected again. I don't want to be hurt again. I don't want to be, mind you, every time I preach, God deal with me first. And I'm like, you know what, Joker?
Yeah.
You get out my business.
Come on.
Why are we afraid to have our Judas with us?
Why?
Why are we afraid to watch Judas's feet? Why are we afraid to train Judas, knowing Judas is going to leave us? Why? Why are we afraid of Judas?
Yeah.
Was he not necessary? Was purpose not dependent upon that happening? Did Jesus not have to get up on the cross? Was it not required? Was it not prophesied? Was it not part of God's plan?
Yes.
So why do we demonize the man that ensured that you were redeemed? Perhaps you are called to the nations, but maybe God need to deal with some things within you. So he needs your Judas to get that out of you.
Jesus.
Maybe this betrayal opens up the doors to everything else. And you know this person is called to you. You know you're supposed to be, this person supposed to walk next to you. And you know this person's going to turn their back on you, but you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. My discernment says this person's going to be. Are you discerning the heartbreak that you don't want to deal with, or are you discerning the purpose that God has for you?
That's right, that's right.
Is Jesus the prototype? If we say that he is, then one, we know the crowd is going to be there.
Come on.
Wow.
And we know we shouldn't be seduced by it. Two, we know we have to train, pour, and impart to not only our inner circle, but our outer circle too.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Three, we know that once the crowd begins to hype us up, we cannot be moved by it, because Jesus was concerned about what was his purpose and his purpose only. He didn't care about anything else. He was laser focused on his purpose. Once we began to pour, we realized Jesus was very sure that whatever he was pouring was worthy of testing.
That's right.
So now you have to ask yourself, leaders, have you tested your pour? Have you tried it?
Come on now.
Have you purified it? Or is it the same stale, contaminated pour from 20 years ago? Have you refined it?
Wow.
Or is it, if it's not broken, we don't fix it?
Jesus.
Type of pour. Have you refused to adjust to the times? Maybe God has called you to a people that you at one point demonized and vilified.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Mighty Lamb. Is it possible? But you refuse to deal with your pour.
Come on.
Your pour is tainted. There's fly. There's a fly in the ointment.
Forgive yourself.
Shy.
All right, Papa
And then you wonder why whatever you reproduce, there's no fruit.
Jesus. My God.
So what's up with your seed?
What's up?
Listen. You deal with God. I ain't scared of none of y'all.
I got you.
See?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So what is up with your pour? Those of you who are willing to receive,
Yeah.
how is it that this person saw you at your worst, pieced you back together,
Come on
patched
now.
you up,
Come
and
on
the
now.
moment they do something you don't like, all of a sudden you want to tear them down?
Jesus.
It really was an indication of the crowds and the out of court's character, and not an indictment on Jesus.
That's right. That's right.
They showed who they were, not what Jesus poured. So when they leave, is it a reflection of you? Mind
Come
you.
on now.
No. I gotta give you the other side, because there's somebody online. Well, what about, no. You can't tell me in one breath that this is your man or woman of God,
Come
and
on
in the
now.
next breath, they just so and so. You can't tell me that.
Come on.
That's right. That's right.
You can't do that.
Come on. You talk.
You can't. You can't tell me this person bailed you out of jail. This person seen you naked. This person hot clothed you, housed you, fed you, did all these things for you. Then all of a sudden, there's this and such and such. You can't tell me that.
Come on now.
Oh, so basically, what you're telling me is that there are no longer any benefit unto you, and because the benefit is not there anymore, now they're not worth anything anymore.
Come on.
So is that an indictment against them, or just you just selfish?
Come on.
Jesus.
Are you just immature?
Come on.
Which is it? You can't tell me. I can't tell you that Apostle Renee is my apostle. And in the moment she tells me, no, you can't do that. Oh, well, she ain't. First of all, yeah, you don't have to worry about that. We don't play those games over here.
Not at all.
There's no way. There's no way. There is no way. You done seen this person work miracles in your life. You've benefited from the miracles that's on their lives. Then all of a sudden, they're the scum of the earth. You can't tell me that. That means there's something rotten inside of you.
Well,
I don't care what Apostle Renee does. I will never uncover her. Ever. I don't have to be in agreement. And I'm not going to, co-sign on foolishness. Even if we part ways, you will never know why.
Nakia, watch it.
It won't be, so she ain't nobody. Well, she must have been somebody for the 10, 15 years she was mentoring you. So what happened? Well, I've outgrown her.
Jesus.
help the body.
Well, I just know more than she does, and so I don't feel like she can know.
Yes.
She's helping with my purpose. I think I've outgrown. Have you?
Jesus.
Have you? That haughty spirit outgrew her? Make it make sense. As my son would say, the math is not what?
Mathing. Hello.
My God.
It ain't mathing, Jesus. Come on.
It's not mathing. So where we left off? The crowd, the outer court.
Yes.
Then there is going to be a point in your time, in ministry, in life, when you are of no benefit to the people that you've been poured into, and they are going to leave you.
Yeah.
It is a fact.
Yeah.
Once they have used you up, or your parlor tricks no longer interest them anymore, because that's what they were reduced them to. It was God when they first saw it. Now all of a sudden it's just a parlor trick. The crowd is going to leave. However, there's hope in that. When that crowd left, another one came. There's always going to be a crowd. The question is, are you going to listen to the screams and the echoes?
Jesus.
Are you going to be so moved by the crowd that you have now forfeited your own purpose and destiny? Will you be spiritually bankrupt, investing in a people that will never invest back into you?
Oh, hell, bye.
Is this not the prototype of Jesus?
Jesus.
Because the same people he fed had him on a cross.
Come on. Your voice
That's right. They said crucify.
Watch your tongue.
The same ones.
Yes, they did.
The same people that he came and was sent to save, deliver, and reconcile. And here's the beautiful thing about it. When Jesus was performing all those miracles, they kept calling him prophet. Have you always wondered why they called him a prophet? During that time, if you look at now, because some of y'all like to walk in the Old Testament. I used to be I am still an Old Testament girl. I still love it. The only people who did miracles were the prophets.
That's right. That's right.
So in their mind, it was quiet for 400 years or time. Then this person comes on the scene, and they assume that no, he wasn't the Messiah, but he was the prophet spoken about in days of old.
Right.
So they thought, I would make this prophet our king.
That's right.
That's supposed to be an upgrade to this prophet.
Come on.
So we maybe we always think, the gift of the working of miracles, evangelists go heavy in that. But no. My prophets should still be able to do the same.
That's right.
Come on.
But again, The signs, the miracles, and the wonders are not for those who've been converted, for those who believe. Those were given for those who have not believed. So prophets who spend so much time in their prayer closets, just high off of the experience of the supernatural. When are you going to release all that you have been imparted? And I don't mean, I'm going to get on my Facebook Live and I need you to sow 20, this, that, and the third. Give me $22 a year, 22. And we're not talking about that.
Jesus, come on.
Prophets of old had strategy. They had vision. They were able to watch the signs and the times and the seasons change and will let us know the trajectory and where we're needed to go for the whole of the people, even those who did not believe.
Come on, direction.
That's good.
I'm just asking Jesus is prototype. Y'all, I'm so far off my notes and I ain't playing.
That's all right.
Doing good. Doing really
We
good.
don't need no more.
Okay.
Good teaching.
Then Jesus goes back to comparing, because they brought up, our people, Moses had us in the wilderness, and Moses, I know you did your little miracles, but Moses gave us manna every day. I mean, you fed us once, Moses fed them every day.
Listen.
See how they had to discount Jesus? Made it a public trip. Jesus said, paraphrasing, well, Moses gave rotted the next day. What I give lives eternal.
That's right.
So whose
That's
miracle is greater? This is spiritual food. You want natural food. The same people who wanted the manna, natural food, complained about that.
They did.
God is petty. So God, so God sent them this quail. I'm gonna give you so much meat, it's gonna make you sick. Like, I'm gonna give you so much meat, you're gonna have to eat. It's gonna come out your nose.
That's
Like
right.
legit.
Yeah.
So you gonna complain? Look, I done fried this chicken. You don't want this chicken? Oh, okay. So I think God was a black mother. I'm just like, anyway.
I can't.
You gonna eat what I fix and nothing else.
I love it.
Oh, you don't want chicken? I'm gonna make spaghetti every day. That's some spaghetti now. You ain't hungry.
Every day.
Every day.
I love it.
Good.
Help us.
So in the end, many followed Jesus because of his miracles, stayed because he fed them, wanted to promote him or idolize him based upon his performance, and questioned him once the emotion lifted and left because of what was required of them.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
So we have the crowd, the outer circle, and in our inner circle. The first to leave were the most unstable, but often the loudest voices we hear. I'm going to say it again. The first to leave are those that are the most unstable, but are often the loudest voices that we hear.
Come on.
The outer circle left, the disciples. These are the ones that we pour and invest. We spend time with. However, they may not always remain. We may not get a return on that investment.
Come on.
And we must brace for the kiss of the inner circle. These are the ones whose leaving causes the most injury, but also sets us on the path to destiny.
Yes, God.
If you don't get anything else, it's those three things.
Lord Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
We have the crowd, the outer circle, and the inner circle. The first crowd left. Why? Because they are the most unstable, but often the loudest voices that we hear. The second, the outer circle left. These are the ones that we pour and invest in. And we spend time, but there's no guarantee on the return on investment.
Lord Jesus.
Nakia.
The last, we must brace for the kiss of the inner circle.
Help us, Lord.
This is the one that causes the most injury, but sets us on our path to destiny.
Lord.
So my last, I'm out your way.
Lord Jesus.
My question is Jesus the prototype? Is he? Y'all good? I didn't cut you over too bad, did
Just a little bit.
I? We good?
This was help.
Jesus. Come on now. I love it.
Now, some of us in here are still upset about our outer circle. We mad about the crowd. But most importantly, the large majority of us have the kiss that has not been healed.
Wow.
Mercy.
Ah, shut up.
Mercy.
So what are we going to do about it? We're holding on and carrying this weight of this kiss.
Yes.
We felt, how dare that I gave them my all. I gave them the best.
Mercy.
I gave them even when I didn't have. I should have been given for me, but I gave to them. How dare they betray me?
Wow.
Not understanding that the one that betrayed you, it was necessary. But just because they betrayed you doesn't mean they don't love you. I believe Judas was heartbroken by what he did. Judas didn't ask for that to be his purpose. He didn't ask for that to be part of the plan. But he was necessary. So we're holding on to this hurt and this pain of the one that gave us that kiss. And they're in turmoil in their own right. We think they're on social media, they're out here, this, that, and the other. They moved on, and while you're sitting here crying and you're upset, not understanding they still don't have any rest about what it is that they did. And you're wanting, somehow, some way, you're wanting, you might want to fight them a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, can we be real about it?
Yep.
You want to lay hands suddenly on them. We want to. But there's healing in our worship. There's healing in the altar. There's healing in a time of worship before the Father.